Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
We voted for 6 captains. Okay, you guys voted for 6 captains. It was very clear the guys you voted, and a lot of other guys got votes. What's important is these are the guys you have chosen to lead this team. I'm taking this very seriously. I've never done this before. I got a proclamation here, and you're going to sign it. If you're going to be a captain, you're going to sign it. But you guys, I thought, voted excellent. You guys voted excellent. You guys.
It's Grand Campbell Memorial Stadium, and there is no place like Nebraska.
Talked about that today wasn't an anomaly. Like that is us. And we're not going to play that great every single night, but now we kind of set the bar of what we're capable of.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker fan sports show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. It's week 1. I'm your host, Honky, and I'm with Redcast Abby.
And I'm here sitting on a chair just like the coach of the #1 volleyball team in the country.
It's not an anomaly, Abby. You're here.
It's not an anomaly. It's who we are.
That's right. I'm also with Redcast Rob.
Well, I'm just excited that we're playing Cincinnati, a city that hasn't gotten this much attention to the well-intentioned but disastrous promotion involving 40 live turkeys being dropped from a helicopter onto an unsuspecting public at the Pinedale shopping mall.
I thought they could fly. I really did. And you're in a different city here, Rob, too. We'll talk about that in a sec. And
Kansas City, here I come.
Right. And we're with Redcast Boomer.
Well, I'm just excited. It's football season. It's Australian rules football ladders coming up around the corner. So that means it's also time for networks and streaming services to fight over their carriage rights. So thanks, YouTube TV and Fox Sports. So I look forward to not being able to watch a lot of the games coming up this weekend. So
Go Roos.
We also might be with Redcast Dave. We don't know. He's been on and off as we've been trying to get set up here beforehand. So if the internet connection works well for him, he might be joining us. But without, we'll continue on. We'll move on. But this is week 1 of the season. We've been doing off-season shows and really catching up here the last few weeks. The last month we have. But Redcasters, thank you for everyone that's been joining us so far here tonight, and we'll be logging on with us. We will be going live through the seasons weekly Tuesday nights at 9:00. So kind of a good time for everyone, and that will be a chance for us here. We'll do that during the fall, and then we'll figure out during the winter and the spring how we'll do it from there. But Rob, yeah, you're already boots on the ground right now for the Redcast. You're not the only one that's going to be down there in Kansas City. I know Abby.
No.
You'll be joining us. I'll be down there as well here, leaving tomorrow. But Rob, is there a fever pitch growing already right now in Kansas City land? What are you feeling there?
I'd love to lie and say yes, but literally I probably left my hotel just for work the last couple of days and hung out here in the hotel bar. I did walk down to a couple barbecue places, have gotten a few Go Big Reds, but most of them are from fellow Allo employees here in town. So no, not yet, but I feel like tomorrow it's going to start to pick up. The girl at the front desk told me that there are a bunch of people from Nebraska that will be staying at this hotel, and there's a really nice bar. So I guarantee you I will meet some of them.
Well, that's great. Abby, are you heading out tomorrow?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to apologize too for my shoddy internet connection. I know they're not our sponsor, but this is what it looks like when I'm working off of hotel internet and not Allo Fiber.
Well, there you go. Abby, are you heading out there tomorrow, or are you waiting until game day?
We're heading down Thursday morning. So game day. It's a pretty short drive for us. So we'll go down there and start tailgating as soon as we can. As soon as they let us into the parking lot, we'll be out there.
Yeah, short drive plus late kickoff equals plenty of time to tailgate. It's gonna. I mean, it is gonna. Actually, that is something we do need to talk about. Redcasters is pace yourself on Thursdays. It's going to be an 8:00 kickoff. It's going to be beautiful weather out there for everyone that's coming out to Kansas City. For the people that are staying in Nebraska, it should be beautiful here too. It's going to be a late game. You're going to have plenty of time to prepare for it and everything. So yeah, pace yourself. This is game 1 of the season, but. We're looking forward to getting it going. But speaking of getting it going, this last weekend, holy smokes, I think it's a great segue into Courtside Cooking. And this is our volleyball segment. We're going to start off with that for this week and go into football after. But, Abby, we'll just start with you here. I mean, it could have gone any better from the scene in Lincoln to the play on the court.
If we had swept Pitt, that's the only way it goes better. And I'm fully convinced if we had gotten that correct, if we had gotten that touch call, we'd have swept Pitt. But no, I mean, I don't think it could have gone better. We played 2 top 10 teams. We played the number 3 team in the country, your very first game out in front of a crowd that big, and looked amazing. Looked like the number 1 team in the country. And I think especially after Stanford solidified it. Like, I think there were some rumblings, I think, after that first day where, Penn State kind of swept Creighton that like, they look so good. They look the best. And then we came back against Stanford and it was like, oh, actually, guys, no. It turns out this is a well-oiled machine. And like our coach said, it's not an anomaly. We're going to lose sets. I mean, we're going to drop sets. That's going to happen. But just like, it's easy to feel good about this team and easy to feel really good about this season. And 2 games in and we're already feeling it. So,
yeah, I mean, we talked about in our text chain, we were talking about, we've got some players on our team that are, high school All-Americans that were top recruits that have barely played yet. And it's just because of the depth we have. I mean, we have a second, I think if you put your second team out there last weekend, we probably, darn near sweep them both. I mean, that's how the quality of depth on this team. We've had some great volleyball teams in the last 5 and 10 years. And I know it's ridiculously early in the season and everything, but this just looks like on a different level from a talent perspective and depth perspective. There's just something different. It looks like coming into the season with this team.
I think that's the distinction that between this team and a lot of the very talented teams we've had in the past is just the depth of talent. And I know we just got a question about, can we go undefeated? I think this is a more talented team than that 2000 team that went undefeated. I don't know. We don't have we don't have quite the lethal, put the ball down every time this is your go-to person like we've had in the past, like we had with a Michaela Fecky or Jordan Larson. But I think Harper's getting there. And so I don't know, undefeated's hard. I don't know if we go undefeated. We could. I mean, we very well could. But I think I'm with you. I think just the skill, the talent, and the way that they push each other to be their best and to be better is kind of unseen, at least for us before. And to speak on, that we have all these players we haven't seen, my guess is we'll see them on Friday at Lipscomb. My guess is you'll see the starters for a while, and then you'll get to see Sky. You'll get to see Allie some more. You'll get to see, I don't know what we're doing with our middles, which one will, if we redshirt one or not. You'll see Campbell Flynn out there again. You'll probably see Maisie out there again. You'll get to see all those players who are extremely talented and just, will be able to play those games. So that would be, watch for that Friday. Watch for a whole bunch of new faces to show up Friday.
What's interesting is there's always this happens in every sport, football, basketball, it doesn't matter which one it is. There's always the shiny new thing, the new freshman that comes in. And we have great freshmen. We have great newcomers that are on the court here. I mean, there's no question about that. But I can remember back in spring, there's a little bit of talk of what Campbell Flynn's going to do and take away a spot from Bergen Riley. Bergen Riley looked okay. she looked just fine here in the first weekend. So I mean, it's sometimes they're the old pros, the old sages. They've been out there for 2 or 3 years, and sometimes I hope we don't ever take them for granted. But those returning players that we have and what Harper did out there and Andy Jackson, it's like Becca Alec, I just can't. I almost forget, like, because they rotate out. I'm like, oh yeah, she came back in. We still have her on the team. Oh yeah, we still have her. Oh, she just got, it's just insane.
And we've got players that are like mirror images of other players. Like Jackson came out and what's the girl that subs in for her with an E. Now my brain is mush right now, but anyway, they sub out and I thought it was still her in because it's like they all pretty much just play exactly the same, which is, powerhouse, come in, smash ball down middle, next point, please. It's incredible. I mean, in layman's terms, they make it look easy, which is just crazy. I mean, there was only maybe a period of like 3 points at one point. I think that Stanford had like a 3-point run at one point, and I was like, oh God, please don't collapse, because that's what last year's team, I would have like been scared about that a couple times. And then, this year they just kind of started laughing and okay, let's finish this, and game, set, match, over. That was it. And it's incredible. I don't know. It's almost like speechless watching how good they are, and it's only the second game of the season, right? Like 2 games.
Well, what was also incredible was the crowd there at PBA, and Coach Busboom, she talked about that.
It was pretty magical. I said earlier this week, the fact that I got to do one thing that hasn't been done before was cool. It was playing in Pinnacle Bank Arena, and then coming away with the win against an old rival of mine. It couldn't have, I guess, it couldn't have like ended, or it couldn't have lined up so perfectly.
Boomer, I'll bring you into the conversation here. Just how cool it was for the downtown area, the Haymarket area. You and I, over 10 years ago, we went around Lincoln and tried to get voters to build the arena. And it was for moments like that, weekends like that, what that did for Lincoln there, but really put Lincoln on the map, the volleyball map. We were the epicenter of college volleyball for the weekend. And then something also that you've talked about for years is you have to televise these sports. You have to televise volleyball. You have to publicize it. Well, there we were on Fox. There we were on ESPN. I mean, what was that like for the weekend for the sport?
Yeah, first off, you're welcome, Lincoln, and volleyball fans everywhere for getting that arena built. So we're humble about it, so that's okay. And then and just like you said, Lincoln was the volleyball capital of the United States, if not the world, for that weekend. I mean, you got to see premier teams playing in a great venue, packed with people. And these are your top programs playing. I mean, on actual networks, like you said, because half the time when we talk about watching volleyball, it might be on, Fox Sports 2 or ESPN, +8 or whatever the heck they put it on. And it would just always be hard to watch. But this was a chance to actually see it on channels that everyone could catch, everyone can watch. It was promoted. Mm-hmm. It was well shot. And it was a serious sport. They were presenting it as such. And, it's just, it can only be good for the entire sport of volleyball. I can only imagine. I even checked the ratings out on it, but I'd imagine they were good. At least I hope they were. So I'll actually try to dig into that while we're here, see if we can find that. But I'm kind of curious what they were.
The Nebraska Pitt game had 771,000 viewers. It's the second most watched regular season match and the most watched regular season match that did not include an NFL lead-in.
Oh, excellent. So there we go.
I mean,
yeah. Pretty good.
pretty good there. Yeah.
Good.
And Abby, we talk about this on a football side of things, but we're applauding the SEC right now for playing 9-game conference schedules moving forward. That they've made that jump. We've seen football. There's a number of games or the bye games being played, and this happens, in volleyball too. I don't want to say like every opponent we play in the non-conference is going to be Pitt and Stanford, but having said that, how exciting is this for the sport of volleyball? What could some other sports learn from this? That in the first weekend they went out there and you've got Penn State, Stanford, Pitt, Creighton last year made the Final 8. Florida, Kansas, Vanderbilt. An interesting story with them. They didn't play for 45 years, and now they came back and started at this venue. And then Nebraska. I mean, you're getting some of the elite teams, elite programs. Penn State won it obviously last year. What does that say? Volleyball is doing it right to promote itself, but this is what fans want to see, right?
Yeah, I think it like no sport does it better. No sport does a preseason better. I mean, I know you'll get some basketball teams that'll do kind of big matchups early on, but nothing quite like this where it's multiple teams, multiple highly ranked teams being willing to go at it this early in the season. I think it's showing that that like you said, it's what people want. Everybody wants to see high quality sports, and volleyball's pretty fortunate that you can take some risks. And I know I get that like there's only so many Saturdays and you can only play so many football games. But I think it's just showing that teams can take these risks. Pitt's 0-2 and they'll be fine. They'll be okay. They may still make a Final Four. Like, Penn State almost lost to Kansas and they're okay. They'll be fine. And so I think you get these teams that are willing to take risks and play teams that are highly ranked, highly competitive, because it only makes them better and it makes their postseason run for some of these teams easier. Like Creighton, for example, has to play teams like this. Their conference schedule isn't tough enough. So they have to go out and do it. Nebraska doesn't have to, but we can. So why not? Like, I think, so I think it's a combination of just the teams want it. I mean, even Stanford talked about like they wanted to play these kinds of games. They, have so many young kids, but they wanted to play these tough games and kind of see where they're at. And they're not penalized for it in the postseason. It helps. It's that idea of like you'd rather. I mean, I feel like college football has talked about the playoffs that they want to like, you are penalized less if you lose to a good team, penalized more if you lose to a bad team, and that should kind of balance things out, and it doesn't really. But that's volleyball to a T. Your strength of schedule is, important, and it's not. I don't know. It doesn't feel as biased as it does in football. But
only football could manage to add a playoff and still have a level of controversy. I think back to Florida State a couple of years ago. But at least in baseball, at least in basketball, there's this RPI and there's net rankings and there's some kind of standardization behind it. The idea that you play harder games, that there's a little more forgivability if you do lose some games early, especially early in the season like this. But I love the opportunities that this presented. And to your point there earlier, like Pitt lost 2 games, but I mean, they lost to number 1 Nebraska. That's one of them. Nebraska played number 3 Pitt and number 6 Stanford. I mean, these are the kind of matches you want to see. And that game against Stanford on Saturday, that was on the worldwide leader of sports, ESPN. And Coach Busman Kelly talked a little bit about how we become a worldwide brand.
What Nebraska does is obviously sets the bar, and this weekend showed it. I mean, we're becoming a worldwide brand. There was some girl outside of Devaney just today, and I was walking in, and her and her parents run up, and she's like, I came all the way from Columbia, the country, not Columbia, Missouri, the country of Columbia, to see you guys this weekend. And she just wanted a picture. Like, that's worldwide. So pretty amazing what we're doing.
Columbia, Missouri. No, this is, I mean, enough said there, right? I mean, this is, Nebraska is a national brand in volleyball. Again, the epicenter of the sport last weekend. And to everyone that was there at Pinnacle Bank, kudos to all of you, Redcasters and Husker Nation that showed up to that. You guys showed Lincoln and Nebraska very proud and create an incredible environment. Looking forward and moving forward.
If I can add just real quick, I love speaking of kind of Nebraska being the brand, like Danny's so big, especially this year, on hanging about the goals being a banner, not your name, right? So we have we circle back, we have so many talented players that might not see the court as much this year, but it's to get us a banner. And so that idea of like, in women's sports, I find sometimes that's rare. I think in women's sports, we want to focus on one player, and we can focus on Harper, who is, an Adidas athlete now and had the huge thing on the library, which was absolutely amazing, that the library lit up a picture of Harper. That's amazing. But as a team, they're really focused on like, as what can we do as a team? Like, yes, there are All-Americans, but less important than that is how we as a team come together and achieve at the end of the year. And I love that focus. I think that's always been something I've loved about volleyball over, say, basketball, where it's very easy to spotlight one person. And that's not a, that's not a dig, but it's like, Iowa's not the basketball program. Caitlin Clark was the basketball program. USC wasn't. It's Juju Watkins. It's not UConn. It's Paige, and so I just really love that very publicly this team is taking the stance of this is a team effort. This is a team process. So I really appreciate that, to really focus on that with all of our players.
Mm-hmm. We have a number of comments that come in. We're going to get to them right after we do volleyball and right before football here. But before we end with volleyball, the season's not over. We're done with one weekend. So, I mean, there's a lot of volleyball to be played. So moving forward and looking ahead, next weekend, we're going to Nashville, Tennessee. There's a Broadway block party that will be playing against Lipscomb on Friday night at 6 p.m. And then Sunday, August 31st at 11 a.m. on ABC against Kentucky. So, Abby, kind of break down what you see this weekend coming up. You've already mentioned you think we're going to get more players in there, especially against Lipscomb. What are you kind of envisioning?
Kentucky could be tough. My preseason ranking, which is just my opinion, doesn't mean anything, had Kentucky pretty high up. I think they're going to be good. They have two great outsiders. Brooke DeLay is back, and our former Purdue foe, Eva Hudson, transferred over there. So they've got a great. They might have the best consistent left side in the country. So it's going to be tough. They're usually a pretty good team. So I think we'll see us get pushed against Kentucky. I have faith in us. I have faith in our offense and our net defense that we'll be able to kind of hold them off. But expect that could be another big exciting for maybe 5, hopefully not 5 game. So that one will be pretty exciting. And that whole block party is great because then I think it's like Purdue, Tennessee, Illinois is going to play Vanderbilt again. Vanderbilt's got a crazy, like for being the first team in 45 years is really pushing themselves. So 3 really, really good games, all featuring Big Ten teams on Sunday. And I'll be there. So if anybody has questions that they want me to ask, send them and we'll see if we can get them in media.
So you'll be there on Sunday then for the Kentucky game. That's awesome.
We'll be there.
A full weekend of Husker sports there. Well, let's go to you, Redcasters. You've been following along here. We see a number of your comments coming in here. And the first one, and Rob, I always forget how this works. Vegas Jer with his $9.99. Thank you so much. Here is $10 for Honky's first beer on Thursday. Don't share with Rob. Glad you guys are back. And glad you guys and gal are back. GBR. P.S. I sure miss Lexi.
Yeah.
Rob, what are these called? Are these like super quotes or something?
I think they're this is one of them programs them kids are using. It's the YouTubes or something. They're basically just like donations to the show, and guarantees that we will put your quote up there. Jer is a longtime supporter of the podcast. He's a good friend of ours. I was texting with him earlier today, and so I don't need your money to buy beer, Honky. It's okay. You can have
that's
this.
All right. We love you, Jerry. We would have put this up for $5, but we'll.
I would have put it up for no dollars. You could have just Venmoed me the money.
If there's alcohol involved, I'll do about anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cowboys Cam, are y'all the coaches? Sure. I've been told I look like one, so I don't know.
You do look. Maybe that's why he's asking. He thinks you're Matt Rule.
Eric, anything going on this week? A couple things. We just talked about volleyball. We're going to get to a football game going on there. AVCA first kick preseason tournament, Husk Jerry. Yeah, that'd be a good one too. Oh, that's going to be a 3-day weekend in KC coming up from Texas. I'm wearing a KC Royals hat from whatever Nebraska day. I got this from someone that went to the game a couple years ago, and I think that's Friday night.
It is Friday night out here. I've seen advertising for it everywhere out here. Yeah. You could also wear a KC A's hat, Matt, and really throw it back.
Oh, yeah. John says, wish I could be there as it will be wild. Say hello to the great KC Nebraska fans from me. Will do, John. Yeah, this is it's going to be, I think, an incredible environment there. And I think it's a good way.
What Nebraska does is obviously
move that one there. Let's move into Scarlet colored glasses here. We're getting into football. So, yeah, I hit the wrong button there. And I see Dave. Dave is here right in time.
What's up, guys?
All right.
Dave is live from the stadium.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, you're sounding
Like
great.
you early for beer.
I have a Husker logo on fire behind you, Rob.
Hey, you sound great.
Yes.
You sound great. The audio is awesome. So whatever the issue was earlier, it sounds like it's fixed here. We'll welcome you here, Dave, Redcast Dave.
Yeah.
Been a little while since you've been on. Welcome back. And let's just get your thoughts. We just got done talking volleyball, the great weekend that went on there. And now we're on to just getting kicked off here with the game 2 nights from now in KC. Just let me just get your general thoughts here, Husker stuff right now. Talk volleyball if you want, or look forward to football, whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I listened to the volleyball segment. Awesome stuff, guys. Watched the matches with my family. The girls are really getting into it now. Awesome to see that on national television on both games. So, obviously a little nervous in first match there, but great TV all the way around, and then we roll right into a Thursday night football game. So excited for that. Gonna have some people over. Should be a lot of fun, as long as we take care of business, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to join and hear your guys' thoughts. This is a big year for Matt Rule and Dylan Raiola, and we gotta roll it out there and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Well, Dave, I hear you're playing golf in Denver on Friday with Redcast Skip or producer Skip. And so
yes,
I hope you guys have some really, really good things to talk about on the golf course. And, all you need to worry about is your game.
To wear my Husker golf shirt with pride. With
pride,
so,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it is about the first game and doing the things right to win that first game. I'm going to play a little video from Coach Snow here from a week or so back. He talked about the things that it takes to win in game 1, and we'll talk about that after this.
Yeah, I think it's tough tackling anyway because you watch these young players. Everything is 7-on-7, and, the mentality is not real football, right? It's all this other stuff when they're younger. So just to get players to tackle anyway is tough. But like you said, the first ball game, what you'll notice is missed tackles, turnovers, and special teams, big plays on special teams. Those are the 3 areas that normally determine the first game. So you're right. And we've been doing a lot of tackling. Okay, well, that's music to my ears there. Boomer, I'll start with you. But I'll tell you, man, I have to sometimes pinch myself a little bit here because before I get too down the Kool-Aid and everything, I remember Mark Whipple saying something similar a couple of years ago, right before that season too, that you have to do the little things right and, we have to tackle well and things like that. He was just trying to talk kind of as a coach, as a head coach with it. But in general, the things that Coach Snow's talking about there and the fact that we know on defense they're tackling, so they're doing one part of it. We're going to show a little bit of Mike Eckler later, so we'll know some on special teams. But tackling, special teams, and turnovers, Boomer, if we can do well in those 3 things, I mean, that's a good start, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that we have heard this from every coaching staff, and every coach is going to say this. Most coaches aren't going to say, first week doesn't matter. We'll just kind of wing it. But no, that is the important stuff in these first weeks. Timing is going to take some time to get offenses going. Our defense is still kind of figuring out what they are. So just do those little things well. And anyone who watched like the K-State Iowa State game in Ireland this week, you could see where some of those things did go awry, where, you had some special teams miscues, you had turnovers, some key situations and missed plays and just busted things that you wouldn't normally see later on in the season. You can see how that totally flips a game or, cost K-State a game in several cases. So yeah, that's kind of how you basically, whoever makes the fewest mistakes that first week typically wins the game. It's not necessarily who the better team is. It's just who makes less mistakes. And we've seen that in Nebraska games, the first game of the season. I mean, I think back to the opener against Minnesota. I mean, I think anyone would argue Nebraska was the better team on paper with personnel, just generally overall, but they made more mistakes than Minnesota did, and it cost them a game. I mean, that could, in theory, happen, against a team like Cincinnati. We'll talk more about Cincinnati later, but yeah, you just have to cut down on those week one mistakes and just get that win under your belt and use that to move forward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Abby, do you have any concerns from a talent perspective of what we're going into against Cincinnati? I mean, if we play well in those three categories, we should be in good shape.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've actually watched Phil Snow talk before, and I don't think I knew that's what he looked like. So that whole clip was kind of amusing to me.
We're taking their word for it. It's Phil Snow. We don't really know.
I mean, I don't know what I thought Phil Snow looked like, but I don't think that was it. Yeah, I obviously you execute in those areas. I think we want to talk about like how we watched that not happen. Watch what it did happen. I mean, look at the Hawaii Stanford game from last weekend, and it was special teams. Special teams won them that game in a few places. So as long as we can, and we think about last year how close we were, and it was one special teams play away, 1 or 2 tackles away, things like that. So I think so. I don't know that enough about Cincinnati, to be honest with you, other than I know they weren't very good last year. I know they were kind of a disappointment. So, it'll be a challenge. I think it'll be a lot like that first volleyball game where you kind of are like, I don't know, it could be really close at the beginning and then a team will pull away and hopefully it's ours. But yeah, I mean, it'll get those jitters out, do the things that they've been doing in practice, and I feel good about it.
Well, Rob, you and I will be sitting with each other for it. I mean, how do you think we're going to come out here? Talk first half for a second. Talk kickoff and those first couple drives. I mean, how do you envision the start of the game going for us?
Well, I think that there's going to probably – well, first of all, let me just say that as long as they don't try to catch the opening kickoff inside the 5 and have it go out of bounds, like they did against Illinois a few years back, sure. Then that'll actually be my first sigh of relief. Because I think that's the last time you and I went to an opening day together. I would assume that the offense is going to be very rhythmic and methodical. I think that we'll see a nice spread of run and pass game. I think we'll see some nice I think we'll see some nice tosses out to the running backs as well, because that seems to be some of their better qualities of a couple of our running backs here. We got a couple of I think I'll be really interested to see how we utilize the new wide receiving core. Quite frankly, that's what I'm most excited about, because until we see the first couple drives, I think, it's really hard to tell exactly what we think this offense is going to be this year. We haven't really seen a consistent offense yet in the Rule era. After, Harburg had to be our starting quarterback a couple of years ago, and then last year switching offensive coordinators, a little more than halfway through the season. So I'm really excited to see. I mean, Dave probably knows more about what this offense would look like, I would say for sure. But I'm going to say that it's going to be really hard to tell until after the first 2 drives. And then once that's there, I think, we're going to know kind of how the season is going to go or should go for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I thought that was a good quote. Boomer, can you post that one again from Genghis? I'm hoping the difference is the Big Ten size and talent overcoming a Big 12 bottom dweller. What's interesting is size-wise, their defensive line is bigger than what our defensive line is. So we haven't been necessarily practicing against 350-pound guys. But in general, I mean, our O-line looks like a Big Ten line. Dave, what are some of the things that you want to see, especially early on in this game, that first half, how do you want to see Nebraska coming out? And then, from adjustments, second half wise and everything, and just, what are some of the things you want to see early on in this that would show that the things the coaches are talking about, the progress is being made?
Yeah, no, I mean, you just mentioned that D line. I think that's the biggest question I have on the entire team, outside maybe the O line, but it's on the small side, and I think there's a lot of talent there, but is it going to hold up through 4 quarters and ultimately 12 games? I don't know. I mean, I think we'd learn a lot. I'm a Phil Steele guy, obviously, if you don't know. And I did read the Cincinnati page, and I was trying to remember the guy's name. Sorsby is their quarterback.
Yes, that's a quarterback. Yep.
And Phil has him the number 12 draft eligible quarterback in the country. So that seems to be a little bit of a strength there, ahead of a bunch of Big Ten guys that will be playing later in the year. So if he has too much time back there, even an experienced secondary can get picked apart. So we need to get after him and establish that rush early, I think, and take away a run game. And if we can do that, I like our chances.
Yeah, Sorsby's not a small guy. 6'3", 235.
He's also a running threat, too. He does run the ball about 10 times a game there as well, so that's something else you got to keep an eye on.
DB was saying about our defense, too, the other day that, he actually likes the way they look because they're kind of, while they may not have the weight of, say, like the polar bear, last year, the muscle mass and the size and the athleticism of this D line is kind of what Rule and that they've been going for for what he called his team, his style of defense. So it'll be interesting, I think, to kind of see some of the blitz packages that they run after them and just the constant movement around the field, especially because, I mean, let's not forget that Cincinnati does have 4 new starters on the offensive line this year, and this is game 1 that they're all playing together. Are they going to be good eventually? I sure hope they are, for all those really nice Cincinnati fans out there on social media. But I think this is a great opportunity to take a bunch of guys who have experience in this defense already and did get playing time last year to really, go out there and as DB said, I'm quoting him a lot because I've been listening to him a lot, but he also is probably one of the more insider type people that we have right now, with his son being on the team and just his relationship with the coaches. Some people say it takes 2 to 3 games for a defense to gel, and as he said, he won't be surprised, and I won't be surprised either to see if this defense just gets better and better series after series, especially in this game.
Well, that would be nice. That's for sure. We talked.
I'm a little more positive outlook, I think.
No, that's certainly fine. Abby, we talked about with volleyball just the amount of depth that the volleyball team had. I think on the defensive side, where maybe we lack in size, we don't have Nash and Ty necessarily there. But and here I'm showing a photo here of the black shirts that were just posted here yesterday. But I do think this is going to be probably more of a attack by numbers. They're gonna play. I imagine 5-6 defensive linemen. They're gonna go too deep in the linebacking core. The defensive backs. I mean, my gosh, we could probably play 10, 11 of them. How do you see a lot of numbers getting out there probably this week right away from the beginning?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think this is going to be I don't want to say a trial by fire because that doesn't really feel correct, but very similar, I think, to Danny's thought of like, we're going to put the people out there who are going to make the biggest difference. I think that's where I think we're going to see that. And I think that's the package they want to run. And if you can keep cycling players in, we saw that under Tony White, right? A little bit, like you just cycle players in and out. It lessens the wear and tear on them. It keeps them fresh. It changes it changes obviously the personnel, but then like the offense then has to figure out how do you change based on who's on there. So it sounds like that's kind of the mentality that they want to take on defense, which I think is great. I mean, you kind of have to balance like size versus speed versus numbers. And essentially like, yeah, you weren't going to take Nash and Ty out, but maybe now you can kind of filter in other players and give those guys opportunities to get out on the field and make their plays and earn their spots.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is a chance here for us maybe to go around the room and do something. And Redcasters watching along, I'd love to get your comments too. Post your comments here on what's your biggest concern? What's your biggest source of optimism going into this first game? I'll start to give you everyone kind of a chance to think about it a little bit, and I'll go around the room here with this. But, for me, I'll start with my biggest concern, and it's nothing new. We've heard it before, but at running back, it's really we're all ecstatic. I think that Emmett Johnson took himself back out of the portal, a year ago. But and we think that he's going to be dynamite as a starter, but just who's behind him. Now it's not that we don't have talent. I think Mosey has a lot of talent. I think Nelson can play. I mean, we've got guys. We've got some of the true freshman guys in there and Ives, but it's really untested. And so who's going to be that guy? And I think the coaches talked about, looking at the guys on the sideline during the game and, who has it in their eye that they're ready to go out there versus, the guy that's looking at this pro stadium and the moment's a little too big for him. That's a concern I have going into the season. A source of optimism that I have going right into it is just the overall coaching staff, period. You can look at all the different coordinators that we have. Eckler is such a step up in the special teams. I'm ecstatic to have Holgerson now here with this whole offseason and everything that he's been doing there, but also the staff that's under him, Glenn Thomas and Stat coming back. There's a lot of experience and brain power in that room. Defensively, I think Tony White was a great coach. I think that's a loss. I probably could have put that as a concern too, but my concern is lessened by the fact that I love Butler in there and what he's doing, and he's been in the program for a year now, and also having a guy like Snow with him. So overall, I think the coaching in general is just going to be a much more elite level than what we've had. I'm not worried about going into halftime and us playing well in the first half and then, laying a dud in the second, or if we are laying a dud in the first half, I think they're going to make some good changes at half, and we'll see a different team there. Abby, I'll go up to you. What's a concern? What's some optimism that you have going into the first game?
Well, I'll go the other way. So I'll go my optimism first. And similarly, I know there's a lot of concern with the defense because there's so much unknown there. We did lose big pieces of our line. We lost our D-line coach, our defensive coordinator, I know Cooper kind of left before the season, but still we lost him to Florida State. But I think what people need to remember is that Matt Rule is a defensive guy. Everywhere he goes, defenses are good. So that was never a concern for me. And so essentially that's my optimism is Matt Rule knows what he's doing with defenses. So my optimism is there. And I guess that's a little bit coaching, but I guess specifically in Rule and kind of his way of being able to recoup a defense. My concern, I guess it's similar to the running back in terms of depth on the offense, not just running back, but I think there's a massive cliff between Dylan and TJ, who I think is the second. They've kind of talked about that before, is that there's a gap. There's a noticeable gap. Not that I think that Dylan's going to get hurt or anything, but I just think depth in general between starters and not starters in some of those more skilled positions.
How about you, Rob?
My biggest concern will be that this team comes out flat on Thursday, that the coaching staff, while, everybody knows that we have the talent and the ability and we should win this game, that this team comes out flat on either offense or defense to start the game and that it affects the mood. That's my biggest concern. I want to see this team that comes out fired up like it's the Colorado game last year. That's what I want to see out of all of these players. What I'm most optimistic about is that they won't. I think the offense is going to be clicking on levels like we haven't seen as Nebraska fans probably in about the last 10 years. And I think that we will be pleasantly surprised by the defense. Are they going to be as good as last year's defense statistically? Maybe not, but I won't be surprised to see 9-10 guys on the team this year with multiple sacks. I think there's going to be a lot of, movement around on that line and guys playing positions that maybe, we aren't normally used to seeing them play, dropping back into coverage and maybe, secondary blitzes a lot more. So we'll see.
How about you, Boomer?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in terms of what I'd be concerned with or most concerned with, it probably is just, can this defense, perform to a level at least somewhat close to last year's, especially to start the season. The line play is new, and Cincinnati, they were an explosive running team last year. They were able to generate some good running plays, and they've got some good running backs coming back this year. So I think it'll be a good question. Will our defensive line be able to perform at a level somewhat similar to last year? I don't expect them to be quite at that to start the season, but can they at least do well enough to keep Cincinnati's explosive plays down get them off the field. That's probably my biggest concern, going into the game, whether it's from their quarterback or their running backs. Will our line be able to do well? I kind of have faith in the linebackers, secondary, we'll see on that end. What I'm most confident in, it's always a crapshoot in game one because, every coach is going to tell you they're good. I don't know if I've ever listened to a coach at any program that I've ever heard says, yeah, we're going to suck week one. Nobody ever says that. But I expect that the offense should look sharper, with the entire offseason under Holgerson, and you've got Raiola, in a second year here. You've got experienced receivers that we brought in, Dane Key and the others, which should be a step up from last year. I was a little disappointed in wide receiver play ultimately last year. So I expect that to be better, and if we don't see it better initially, then I'll throw that into a concern for week 2 against Akron. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So yeah. So.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I have a lot of question marks. I'll start with my optimism. I think special teams will be better this year. I'm surprised Boomer didn't grab on that one, right? But it can't get much worse.
Low grade,
but it has gotten worse like every single year.
It can't be any worse than it was last year, right?
So no, I believe Elker will turn that around, and I think they will be better with both kick and coverage. And honestly, we laugh about it, but that could be worth a game or two, right? I mean, it's we know it at this point. So if we're trying to get to rules magic number of double digits, that could make the difference right there. So
absolutely.
Concern wise, I'll just grab something that you guys haven't talked about yet. And I mean, the O-line, seeing the depth chart and seeing looking at the tackle seems still unsettled. The fact that Pritchett hasn't risen to the top there is really interesting. The fact that Teddy was back up. I like Rocco, but Notre Dame is like the number 3 offensive line in the country without him. So what does that tell you? I don't know. So
you have lots of depth, Dave. Lots
of depth. Yeah. And so I don't know. We're going to find out. But I mean, that offensive line will need to produce this year for this offense to work.
No, I think that's a good point too. Like when we talk about what our concerns or what you're optimistic about, I think it's fair also to look at things like, what are we just making assumptions on? We just assume that XYZ is going to be better. I'm making huge assumptions that just Eckler magically is going to make our special teams better. And yet, that first field goal out there from 42 yards away, I mean, until we see it, who knows, that thing can fly sideways or, hopefully it goes through, right? I mean, there's also a level of we want to see some consistency. I mean, even in the last year with special teams, we saw a 50-plus yard field goal, and then you'd miss the 35-yarder to follow it up. It's like we need to see a level of consistency, and that's something that we're hoping. You're right, though, Dave. I mean, with the O-line, that I think there's depth there and there's talent there, but the huge assumption is that those 5 guys are just going to magically play together. And we've had, we've gone to a pipeline event at Hurrdat Sports where, the 94 pipelines up there. And these were 5 guys that you can name them all. They played year after year after year together. They could finish each other's sentences and they knew everything because they'd done hundreds and hundreds and thousands of snaps with each other. And that hasn't happened with this line. And so it's how quickly can they gel together and be as one, right? And that's the same thing with receivers and quarterbacks playing together, quarterbacks handing the ball off to running backs, all those things that just take reps. Hopefully they've had enough, to be ready here right off the start.
I'd like to add, somebody else said it in one of the comments of being able to play for a full 60 minutes. I think that was the story of this team last year is we couldn't play all 3 facets a complete game. So you look, even Colorado was a great game. That first half was great. And then what happened? Well, we kind of stepped off the gas a little bit and let them come back. I mean, Indiana's a great example. Iowa's a effing terrible example, but it just felt, even Boston College, right, in that bowl game where we looked so good. We had that game. And then it was it felt like maybe we got a little lackadaisical and we weren't as, in tuned or whatever. And so I think that's what I want to see. When we talk about consistency, the biggest thing I want to see is a full game from every facet. we just haven't seen it yet under Rule, under Frost, under I don't know. I don't know the last time we've played a full complete game. Maybe that.
Thank you, Joseph.
Which one?
I don't
Which
know.
one?
Hey,
yeah, no. I mean, like maybe that crazy Northwestern game where
I was gonna say Northwestern.
But
yeah, where you just
that was really fun. Let's do that again. But yeah, like something you mentioned in here about like no more vanilla offense. Yeah, just go and play the game. Go and play your full game the full time. That's what I want to see. That would give me confidence in this.
Dave, you've known me for a number of years on this. I've been traditionally a run the damn ball guy. But what are you kind of thinking you're going to see here offensively? Year 2 of Raiola out there, obviously Holgorsen running it. Now there's a lot of talk and debate. Is this going to be it's not going to be the run and shoot or that, but what are you kind of seeing based off of the last 4 or 5 games that he was calling last year? And then, what we have coming back. I mean, how do you kind of envision the offense looking?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a good question. I'd like to see how Holgorsen's evolved, right, since he was a head coach, and over the last, we've been watching him call plays for, on the national scene for 15, 20 years. So, how does he evolve, right, and keep up with the times? Just his mentality, he likes a featured back, I think, and so I think Emmett fits that bill perfectly, and I think he'll use him in a lot of different ways. I think he will have Dylan spread the ball around, try to exploit weaknesses, so I could see different matchups, different weeks. Should see a more simplified offense. We started seeing that at the end of last year where it was easier to see where Dylan was making quick, easy decisions. If Dylan is back there with choppy feet and not know where to go, that's going to be a problem. We're going to be like, what happened in the offseason? Right. We want him to look decisive out there and making throws. And yeah, I mean, I think there was a comment about, Nair and Banks last year not able to get off of, coverage at times. We'll see if Hunter and Key are better, right? I mean, our presumption is that we did a better job in the portal this year.
Yeah.
Here we are relying on 2 transfer guys again. I mean, you have to like Barney and others, but you'd love to be able to have some returning playmakers there beyond that, that what you have. And, I think Banks was ultimately pretty good last year, and Arrow definitely had some drops and some challenges. Yep. So hopefully that's an upgrade, right? If it's an upgrade and Dylan has wide open guys, he will get him the ball because we know he has the arm strength.
Yeah, and it's funny after the first game last year against UTEP, we were pretty happy with the receiving core, at least from a catching perspective. Now, I broke down some of the video, some of the outside blocking, perimeter blocking. We were already running into issues on game 1 there, but Nair had that big long touchdown catch. There was a lot of talk of positives coming out of that. I mean, again, this goes back to some of the assumptions. It's a real easy assumption. I think Key obviously has a little more name recognition what he did at Kentucky coming in here. Although Banks obviously had a lot of catches at Wake Forest, and but regardless, we're counting on a lot from some guys that are transferring in here, no doubt, and that's going to be interesting there. I think Vince had a good question here, a good comment. Tackling is my biggest concern because of the lack of padded practices. And even though we did try to show that video earlier with Coach Snow talking about tackling and the fact that they're doing it, that is still a legitimate question. I mean, our concern just period in football today is how much you can develop in practices with as much as they've limited all the contact. We're not going to, figure that all out here in this podcast. But what I will say is one thing I am confident about. I am confident in Coach Rule that the style of practices that we're running and the amount of contact that he's coaching and having these coaches coach out there, I don't think there's any more physical practices than what's going on in Lincoln, Nebraska right now. That's a good step in the right direction, I think, for this program. And I always pull back to when Frost was let go, and then they have Joseph in there, and Bill Bush comes in and starts coaching defense. When he made that statement about we haven't been tackling in 2 or 3 or 4 years, whatever it was. That was a big eye opener to people, and we saw an improvement fairly quickly doing that. So that's what I'm expecting to see that right away. Just basic fundamental football, limiting the turnovers, the penalties, not jumping off sides, coming out of timeouts and not having delay of games. Having a big play not called back because you have a illegal formation. Basic things like that. And that's, those are the things that you got to see. Coach Rule talked about that with some of the offensive linemen. Dave, you were talking about the depth and who's made it to first string and not first string. You can't be jumping off. You can't be, making mistakes in the red zone. That's hopefully where depth will help us, is that if someone is making mistakes or someone else that can go in there. But ideally, you're finding the right 22 guys that can go out there on play one and not have to be dealing with all that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the depth in the O-line is noted, but if 5 guys haven't stood out, I'd like to think it's because they've all been playing really well, not all been already jumping off sides in practice, right? So
that's exactly it. I mean, there's a lot of – you think of all the great offensive lines. Most of them don't go 9 deep. I mean, at the end of the day, you play your best 6, 7 guys, and those 6, 7 guys, you don't have a big drop-off when you go to number 6 and 7. That's what we need to have right now, and hopefully the top 5 are really good to begin with. That's what you're looking for. Boomer, you've been looking through the comments. Any comment you want to focus on, or you thought tickled your fancy?
Yeah, we've just been
skipping his comedy
all
show.
the comments up as we goes, but I think for all of our younger listeners, there's news of the Kelsey Swift engagement give the Bearcats an impenetrable juju bump. I mean, from producer Skip. I mean, after all, not only is Cincy alum, but you got the aura of Arrowhead, and Chelsea Keese is impenenetrable. Look at the good bounces and officiating for the Chiefs during the Swifty era. So that's
but we have Patrick Mahomes' best friend on our sideline. So
there we go.
I mean,
maybe that'll cancel itself out. So we should be good.
Does that mean?
No.
What's that, Abby?
I'm fully prepared if they show them on screen to boo, because they'll be rooting for Cincinnati, and I will be booing anyone who roots for Cincinnati.
You got to be careful about booing Taylor Swift. I mean, she's got fans,
care.
Abby. I mean,
I don't.
If any of them are listening,
I've heard about
we're all fine.
Abby will be officially canceled on Twitter.
Oh no.
Well, and if someone is cheering from Cincinnati, I don't know if we're going to hear it much. There's not going to be this is a 90-10 kind of split, it sounds like, with Husker fans there. 65,000 probably in a 75,000 seat arena. It's really going to be home field advantage there for the away team. Boomer, I've held this off to the end. This is for you. You are special teams coordinator on the Redcast, and I thought you'd enjoy this. This is Mike Eckler talking about the special teams.
If we go out and we make a mistake on special teams, I want you to write this. X stinks. All right? It's on me. We're going to go out. We're going to play with our damn hair on fire. You got one play. This is not offense. You don't have 3. You're not guaranteed 3 unless you give the ball away or score. Right? It's not defense. Same as. You got one shot to go out there. You got one shot to kick a field goal. And there's 33, 33, 34. That's what we preach. 33% is on the snap, 33% is on the hold, 34% is on the kick. You can't really get to the 34 if the other 66 is not in line, right? So everybody's got a job to do. And if that job is not done well, I won't point a finger, I'll point a thumb.
That's a very Bo Pelini like there, the thumb being pointed.
Yeah, that was a little worrisome in the end there, but yeah, and I do already have X stinks written on a post-it note just in case it comes up. So, but from what I know about Eckler as a special teams coordinator, I'm hoping not to have to use that this year. I mean, from what he did at Tennessee, it kind of spoke for itself. I mean, he really had a good unit going at Tennessee there, especially in a lot of the things we've been lacking. He mentioned a lot of it. We've gone out and corrected some of the things that have been problems in the past, or at least we've tried to anyway. We got a long snapper we think we can trust, brought a guy in. Because ideally, you really should never know who your long snapper is, because you should never hear about him in a game. Everything should just be automatic, as far as your long snapper goes. We've got a punter that everyone's fallen in love with, not just in Nebraska, but around the world. So, I'm sure, we can talk about him later as well. And, he's also stressed the importance of playing, starters or important, or key players on special teams. We've talked about that for years on this. It's something Urban Meyer has stressed years ago is, you put your good players on special teams to make differences. It's not a place to, just have, your freshmen play just because you need to get them on the field somewhere. No, it's a good chance to win. I was reading one of Dave Feit's columns earlier, and just a good example of how big of a difference this can make. He had mentioned at at Tennessee, Eckler this last year, they averaged 13.9 yards a punt return. That was their average, and that is longer than that. That average is longer than any punt return we've had in the entire rule era. Just to tell you how big of a difference that can make. If you can even come close to that, I mean, just imagine how big of a difference that makes in field position, the length of your drives, how far you have to go to score. Dave, you're a big fan of, yards per point. If you cut that down by that much, that just flips so many games in your favor.
I think the old special teams coach had longer putts go in than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had several that have done that, apparently, from what I can tell. Yeah, but just
Dave, I've seen you make putts longer than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I should have been the special teams coach the last 2 years.
Couldn't have hurt, Dave. I mean, let's be honest with you. So you couldn't have done much worse than we've had in the last decade, it seems, since we've been doing this show. Our special teams have just been, a train wreck despite the lip service we've given it. But, from what we know about Eckler in the past, he does seem to, I think, actually care and put the effort into it. We've seen him on sidelines before be energetic and, bring some energy to whatever he's doing. And I hope, I expect to see the same in this first game. Again, there's that, we've touched the stove a lot of times and been burned on special teams in the past. How many coaches have said it's been we're focusing on it this season and it turned out to be horribly wrong. But, let's see what happens this first week, and just any improvement would be such a huge lift to this team, where you're just not making mistakes. You're not catching it on your 2-yard line or your 1, giving yourself the ball there. It's those little things, make sure your gunner is going downfield, has some clue where the ball is going, and be ready for that. So it's those things. You can play with your hair on fire, but it has to be a smart hair on fire. Would be what I want to see on special teams.
Yeah, we've kicked punts to the wrong side of the field. We've had the wrong blocking protection for the which leg of kicker we have out there at that.
Yeah, well, and the beauty this year is we've got an ambipedal kicker, so it could be anywhere. So that's going to be the extra trick to it.
Hashtag ambipedal, is that?
I think so. Ambipedal or ambipoidal, probably pedal. I think. I don't know. Not a word that comes up very often in conversations.
No,
so,
word of the day.
Exactly.
There we go. Well, before we go into parting shots and get out of here, I think, I don't do predictions on shows or, on the team. I typically don't do that from a week to week thing, but I think all of you can. So let's go around the room. Abby, I'll start with you here. Do you have a prediction for the game here?
That we win. That's my prediction. I have no idea. I don't know anything. I feel like I have just been tuned out this whole off season, and especially on Cincinnati, I haven't even cared. So I think we win, and that's as bold as I get.
We went 6.5 points is the latest spread. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah. So let's win by at least a touchdown.
Correct. Yep, under a touchdown.
So we cover, Abby, or we win, or we cover, or what?
No, I think we cover. I think it's by at least a touchdown.
All right, we cover. Rob, how about you?
I'm going to go way big here. I'm going to say that the Huskers come out and just nail it on every facet of the game. We end up with a special teams touchdown. We end up with a defensive touchdown, and the offense goes out there and puts up at least 4 touchdowns, and we win this game going away 42-17.
Hey, I love it. And Skip, producer Skip there posting his score. Yeah, Redcast.
Math on that. Does that work? Does that work out? I got to know.
I'm sure it does. Post some scores, Redcasters, what you think here. Boomer, how about you, man?
God, these week ones are always so hard to predict. You just don't know much about anything. But we'll go with hope for week 1 as opposed to anything written in concrete. But I know special teams should be better. Offense should be better. Cincinnati is what it is. They're a middling Big 12 team. They were probably better than their record indicated last year. They lost a lot of one-score games. That should sound familiar to everybody. And they were 5-2 at one point last year and kind of fell apart the second half of the season, which would also sound familiar to Nebraska fans. But
sure.
They're replacing a lot, on the O-line and stuff. But we should be able to move the ball well, I think, and score points. So the bigger play should favor us. Let's go Nebraska 35, Cincinnati 17, I think.
35-17. Yeah, that last year, they went 5-7, but they did beat Arizona State, who won the conference and went on to almost beat Texas there in the playoff. Dave, Marty Honke thinks Nebraska by 18 points. Do you agree with Marty?
I like the optimism. That's a good number. Sure, we'll take that. I'd be happy with an 18-point victory. I'll go 31.
It's very specific.
31-23. We'll cover, but it's close, and we'll learn a lot. I think a key metric this year will be scoring points. I don't think the defense will be as efficient, so we got to be putting 30 plus on teams like this to make sure that we're going to win. So 31.
Well, Eric, best defense is a good offense, Dave.
There you go. Well, Eric thinks it's 1 million to -3 Nebraska on top. Somewhere a Ditka should be in that one, I think. But, but yeah. So generally speaking, all the comments are coming in here. I think that Redcast Nation is pretty confident that Nebraska is at least going to get the victory, whether it's by 6.5 or more or not.
Do we have any season total predictions, win totals? I mean, since this is week 1, we should probably get those written down too, so we can all look back and laugh at the end of the season. So.
Well, tell you what, we're going to reverse this one. We'll start with Dave and we'll end with Abby on this one. So Dave, preseason prediction here on the record, I guess. The regular season record.
Regular season record, yeah. I mean, I think the futures is at 7.5. So the question is, you get 8 games. I think I like that number a lot. I think we can flirt with 9. I don't like Penn State on the road, obviously, but that's okay. You have several other toss-up games out there, but I think I'm wrestling between 8-4 and 9-3. I'll be optimistic and say 9-3.
9-3. Well, that would match what Nick is saying here. 8-4 minimum. Redcasters, send us in also your preseason predictions on the record. Boomer, how about you?
Yeah, I know the over under is 7.5, and I think I saw a stat like for the last 7 years, the list of Power 4 teams that have gone under every season consists of 1, and that's been Nebraska for the last 7 years. But I'd be really hard pressed to see this team not going over that. If they don't, I'd be sorely disappointed. I would just have to say, given the schedule and what the coaches are telling us and the personnel we brought in and the team we allegedly have. So I'm kind of leaning towards Dave there. I think the schedule is favorable to us, at least on paper. You've got relatively easier non-con. You're catching Michigan probably at a downtime. If they're not cheating again, you've got good home games. Minnesota has been a bugbear, but I don't know if they're going to be as great as capable as they have been in the past. USC at home, Iowa at home. So I think I'd like to see 9 wins this year. That's kind of my floor of what I'd really like to see out of this team this year. So anything less than that, I'd have to look at it in retrospect. 7 would be disappointing as hell. I'll just say that. So 8 probably all right, whatever. But yeah, I want to see 9. So let's go with 9-3. Yeah.
9-3. How about you, Rob?
All right. I'm so glad you asked. We get to the Michigan game 3-0. We shocked the world. We beat Michigan. We beat their ranked team at the time. We're 4-0 at that point. And then we never lose again. No, I'm kidding. But we do beat USC at home in the blackout. I do see us probably dropping the game to Penn State. We probably play Penn State very much like we played Ohio State last year. Finish the season off strong by just destroying and dominating Iowa. The games that are usually close end up not close. We finish the season 11-1. We make the playoffs. We win a national championship. God bless America.
Love it. Abby, how about you?
Oh man, I'm with Boomer and Dave. Like 8 seems very doable. 8 seems very, very doable. 9, yes. 10 feels like a stretch. 10 would require us to only lose to the teams that we should lose to, which sounds really weird. But I think 8. I think my minimum acceptance would be 8, and then I think 9 regular season wins would be ecstatic. I'd be great. I think 8. I'm gonna go 8 because I'm gonna give us some leeway. I don't know. I'm gonna go with 8. Yeah.
Well, think about 10-2. If Nebraska goes 10-2, you're literally in the playoff conversation at that point. Then it's a fun conversation of I think I brought this up on one of the previous shows. I don't know which one I was on at the time, but it was like who wouldn't love Nebraska being 10-2? And the conversation's like, does 9-3 Alabama get in, or does 10-2 Nebraska? At least that's a fun argument for Nebraska fans to have, come November. Dave, I think you're right. You mentioned a great point with like Penn State that's kind of the obvious one. When we did our preseason Twitter polls, we won 11-1, Husker Nation or Redcast Nation with over 10,000 votes. Nebraska won 11-1 with the game-by-game voting. But we were 89 to 11%. We were going to lose to Penn State. So that was a clear loss. The closest win that we had was USC, 57 to 43%. And then it was Michigan and Minnesota were kind of in that 68, 32%. You look at Iowa. We've lost Iowa 9 to 10 years, and Redcast Nation thought we were going to win 90 to 10%. So, I mean, Dave, you brought up Penn State. That's the toughest. Do you have a second? Is there a second? Like, who's the team? How about this? Like, who's the team that last year, Indiana? Nobody thought about that. They were on our schedule. That's an easy win. They're one of the two bottom teams in the conference, and they came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're the one blowing us out. And anyone can answer this, but I'll start with you, Dave. But anyone, like, do you have another team like, oh, watch out for this one? No one's talking about this team. Or who do you think is the clear second hardest one?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Boomer referenced how he likes the schedule, and I mean, it is easier than last year, and we've got probably your next three with USC, Michigan, and Iowa all at home, right? So you gotta feel you gotta win at least one of those, right? If not two. If you're looking for someone like Indiana, I suppose if you could imagine Iowa with that quarterback coming from South Dakota State taking a huge leap forward, I could see Iowa. I don't like their schedule nearly as much, but I don't see an Indiana like last year. I don't think Aiden Childs at Michigan State's going to take that big of a jump. UCLA, I think overperformed last year, and I think they'll get better. It'll be interesting with Nico there. I mean, maybe they take a huge jump forward, but it's hard for me to see another Indiana type scenario.
Yeah, I don't think there's an
so
Indiana
rare to begin with.
Yeah, I don't think there's an Indiana type loss just based on what we see. Again, some of it is like, I want to see how Michigan does against Oklahoma because they play them early on the season. I think a game that could be something of a concern. Again, we should out-talent this team. Would be, and I said we should beat them. Would be Minnesota because we play them on a Friday, coming off of playing at Maryland, and we're at Minnesota on Friday. So it's a short week. It's a team we, for whatever reason, have had a lot of trouble with. I mean, in an alternate universe, there are arch nemesis Oklahoma. I mean, where we joined the Big Ten back in the teens or 20s. We had a nasty rivalry with Minnesota for the longest time. We got coaches fired. I'm sure we covered that in a podcast in the past. But, that's a game that, in theory, that would probably be the one just on paper. If you ask me which one would I worry about, just from what we know now, that would probably be it. It should be winnable, but I could see that skunking us. So,
yeah, I think that Boomer. That's a dangerous spot.
I think that's a great one, Boomer, and also that'll make Boat Wagon very happy. He's a Minnesota fan, follows us, and when we did the show with Brett Ciancia, we went kind of through the season. We glossed over Minnesota, and he called us out a little bit on Twitter with that. But the idea is, we haven't beat them since I think it was the first year of Frost, so since 2018, and everything surrounding that game, a Friday night game, 6 days rest. Who knows that Maryland game? If we're like Rob said, if we're sitting at 5-0 going to Maryland, now are we playing a primetime game on Saturday night at 8:00 Eastern, and we're not getting home until 4 a.m. on Sunday, and you're playing a Friday night game? I mean, just the whole surround. That's where you have to have great coaching, and that's where you have to have a mature team that can handle those kind of situations. That's really going to be.
And you might want to bring hoodies to Minnesota in mid-October. You never know what the weather's going to be. So
you never know. Well, I'll tell you, this was I think we got through a lot here today and we're going to do some parting shots. But really appreciate it. It was great, Dave. It was great having you back into this here. It's great the season's here. We had a chance to talk about some volleyball from last weekend, and what a great start to the season. And now here we are. We got football finally to talk about here in 2 nights. Redcasters, thank you so much. We've had a great crowd that's been following along here live. We will be going live every Tuesday night at 9:00. So join us every week. And if you can't catch us live, then follow us on Spotify and all the different. We're basically on every single platform you can find. We're on the Herd at Sports Network. So thank you for anyone who's new to the Redcast that's following tonight. This is pretty much what we do. We're optimism we're realism with an optimistic spin, I like to call it. So, I mean, we'll be critical where we got to be, but we also, we want to see some victories. Let's go around the room here with our parting shots. Dave, do you want to do one? I know traditionally you've not been a parting shot guy, but.
No, I'm not a parting shot guy. I was just thinking, I'll say something really quick. It's just that I really enjoy week 0 games when we don't play. Because the week 0 game with Northwestern sucked so bad because you lose a 10 a.m. game and you lost, and it was all ruined for the next 10 days of the season off the bat. I mean, I enjoyed watching that Iowa State K-State game, and I felt bad for K-State fans because they're like, "Oh, everything sucks now." Right? But we didn't have to experience that. We can hopefully do our business this Thursday and enjoy Labor Day weekend and all the college football that comes afterwards.
Oh, I love it. And, think about who had a bad weekend last week. It was like the dad of the quarterback of K-State. He got in a fight with his brother. Like, it was all over. Wow. So it was brutal. Like, it was kind of like K-State saying, "Hold my beer, Nebraska," for your loss at Ireland. We figured we found a way to make your onside look like nothing. But that was wow, that was brutal. To your point, it's so nice to not have that right now on us. So, how about you, Abby? Give us your parting shot.
You kind of took mine. Mine was going to be, hey, let's not get into any fights after the Cincinnati game. Let's keep Dayton and Dominic away from each other. We've got a great game coming up Friday or Thursday for football, and then you get a whole weekend of more volleyball to watch. Nebraska plays Lipscomb on Friday, and then we take on Kentucky on Sunday with lots of really big games from other conferences kind of in between those games. So big weekend for Huskers, and let's continue supporting and continue showing how we are the volleyball capital of the world.
Absolutely. Rob. I think you're on mute, Rob.
My God, don't say anything.
Sorry about that. It's been 30 years since our last national championship. It's been 30 years since Happy Gilmore 1 came out. Happy Gilmore 2 just came out. He's still successful. Now Nebraska's time to come back. And in regards to all of you Husker fans, I'll see you in the parking lot on Thursday night.
Hey, Rob, is it 2027?
What do you mean? It's 2025.
Yeah. It hasn't been 20 years.
No, I said 30. Didn't I say 30?
Well, it hasn't been 30 years either, has it?
We won a national championship in 1990.
Math is hard.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Math is bad. Math is bad.
Math
all right?
is bad.
Well, math is
my daughter is a smart one. Okay.
It was too long
it has.
ago, Rob.
It's been so long that I can't even do math. So sorry. I'm not all of us have PhDs, Abby. All right.
Well, Boomer, take us out. You can give us some math if you want here too.
No, that's all right. I'll keep the numbers down. It's just I'm just glad the season's starting. But I did have one big question for our media out there. With Archie Wilson being the fan he was. Did anyone ask a really important question, like what his favorite AFL team was? Do we know? I mean, he's played AFL football. The ladder's about done. We're almost to the premiership time. Has anyone bothered to research this? What is with our local media? Come on, ask these questions, guys.
He actually said it when he did the interview with Rule.
Who was it?
We talked about it, Boomer. We talked about this, Boomer. You don't remember?
So, no, probably not. Yeah. So
yeah, you and I are I'm gonna have to go back in our chat with Dave about AFL to find it, but I did bring it up and tell you. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, no time for that. So
all right. And
it's a Magpies, by the way. He's a Magpie fan.
He's Collingwood. He's a Collingwood fan. So.
Yeah, he's a Collingwood fan because they actually have a guy from the United States on their team who reached out to him after the breakdown in the interview, and he thought that was the coolest thing ever that his favorite player from his team at AFL reached out to him via text.
All right.
And so I sent that to you, and then you commented, but.
Yeah. Collingwood is the only team that St. Kilda has won or beat for their only premiership. So we got that going for us. So, all right.
We're very worldly on this show. I'll tell you that.
This is we're a global podcast. We don't limit ourselves.
I just needed something to do during COVID, and AFL was on, and I picked the absolute worst team in the history of the AFL to root for in the Northern Melbourne Roos. And they're still terrible.
Well, I normally, have like 12 different parting shots. I didn't come prepared for anything tonight, but I want to comment here. Nick, thank you guys for having the podcast episode. I'm getting pumped for the game and upcoming season. Go Big Red. Nick, thanks for following along and watching. I know you were promoting the show during the day too, and I retweeted you a couple of times. It's great to get back out here and do some of these shows. And we didn't talk about this, but Matt, you posted, is anyone else a little worried that Cincy will be able to run on us and shorten the game? I think that's their best bet to win. Tackle right away. I mean, we've got to be the more physical team. And I've said this a number of times with, we talk about on defense, how much more aggressive that Butler is going to be. Well, you have to earn the right to be aggressive. And to Dave's point about the D-line and the concerns there and replacing Nash and Ty, we've got to replace them. You have to win on first and second down in this league. We've got to play great run defense at the beginning so that you can get aggressive on third downs. If we're in a bunch of 3rd and 1s, all that aggressive stuff goes away. So we've got to be able to be stout against the run on first and second down, get ourselves in some advantageous positions. Those are things I'm going to be watching right away. I'm going to be watching where the field position starts on those first 3-4 drives. Do we flip the field on the teams? That's some of the special teams coming in there. Keep track of the penalties and where we're at with that. Be positive in the turnover margin. All those things are good signs in those first weeks. We saw that with Minnesota a couple years ago. When you're -4 in the turnovers, you're not going to win a lot of games. So those are the things we just got to do. It doesn't matter who the opponent is in that regard. We've got to be able to take care of the football, tackle well, and play some special teams. If we do that, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, not only this week, but in the 11 games to come afterwards. So it's a good start, guys and gal. It's a good start. It's going to be a fun season. We've got a lot more volleyball, a lot more football to talk about here in the spring. Follow along every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. We'll be going live. Follow us along. Thank you so much, everyone that's been following. And that's another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
A Herd at Sports Network production.